Hello, everyone out there. Welcome to Solve It Out. This is Annie here, and let's start with the second part of the Stripe subscription plans for an authenticated user. So, let's go to the home.jsx page here, and just want to revise once that this is the data that has been showing in the cards. I have already fetched the images and have given the price here, price tags, image and the title, and accordingly I have set up the cards. So now I'll add the state and we'll check if the user is logging or not. So first, here inside the home component, I'll write const user ID set user ID is equal to use state initializing with empty string. Also const username and set username is following the camel case. Then use state initialized with empty string. Now inside use effect hook, I'll give user ID as the dependency inside use effect. So inside this hook, I'll first call the Firebase. So let me first import it here. That is import Firebase from our Firebase folder, then Firebase config. Okay. So here I'll check at first that Firebase .auth dot on auth state changed. This is the inbuilt function of Firebase to check whether a user is logged in or not. So I'm taking a callback function here, and it will give us that if user is present, then set user ID will assign the value of user.uid. Okay, and for set username will assign the value of user.displayname. So this is done. Else will give a else here. Else set user ID to the empty string and set username also the empty string, that is its initial value. Okay, so our use effect is done. Use effect hook, and I can save it here. And next, I'm going to put a check here for the button. Okay, so here inside this div, we'll write it that if not user ID, then this login button will be shown, else this div tag will be shown. Now it's clear that if not user ID, then this login button will be displayed. Else, if we find a user ID, then this username and logout will be displayed. Now, removing this hardcode username, I'm going to give our state here, that is username. And if I save it, let us go to our page. You can see here I'm already logged in, so Annie B is written and logout is shown. So if I click the logout, I have to first give the function there, that is for logout button. If I'll click the logout, then my user data, login data should get removed and the login button will come into display. So for the button here, I have to place an on click, and here I'll call a function, that is Firebase Fire Firebase dot auth dot sign out. So this is a built-in function of Firebase. Just on click of this, you will see that we are signing out. Now here, if I click logout, you can see I have signed out and the login button came into view. Now for again login, I'll go here and I'll write Annie solve it out at gmail.com. Give my password here and then log in, and see we are again logged in. So our first half code is done. Our authentication is done. Now for the Stripe payment, I'm going to have a button here for the I should call an API here. So first on clicking the start button, we should call the API. So first let me write the function there. So for button, we'll have an on click function where I want to call a function named checkout, and want to pass the price of the plan. So we'll first turn it to number and then we'll pass item dot price. Okay, you can see here that the price is in strings because most of the values that come from the database always remains in string format. So that's why we should first when we are passing such numbers to an function, then we must make it sure that it must be in number format. So I'm passing this value in number format to this checkout function. Now next I'll build this checkout function. Okay, so const checkout will be an fat arrow function. So first I'm going to use here normal fetch. You can also use Axios as far as your requirement. Now for this I'm just using fetch. So fetch, we are going to make the API. So let me write here that I will be working on localhost only. So localhost 5000 slash API slash version 1 slash create subscription checkout. This will be our API name which we will build. After this, so I can give checkout session. In this API, we are going to pass the header functions, that is the method will be post request, as we will be posting it. Okay. Now in this checkout, we will be taking the plan here, because that we have already passed here, that is the price. So which price the user will choose, so we'll take a plan here. And after method post, we'll write headers. Headers will be of content type, will be application slash JSON. Our headers is done. Then we'll pass for cross browser one. We have to pass mode as CORS, so we don't get any cross browser error. And next we'll pass the body, so it will be JSON dot stringify, and we'll pass an object, that is inside the object we'll have the plan here. We're going to pass the plan and also the customer ID, that is the Firebase ID. So we can place the Stripe details into that ID. We can store that. So we are passing the customer ID here. Okay. The plan is passed, customer ID is passed. Now, then we'll call back the response. And we'll check if res.ok, then return res.json. We'll also console.log the response, and we'll return a promise here that we need the URL, that is the Stripe payment gateway URL, as the for to get to that window, that whenever a user will choose the or click the start button, the Stripe window should appear. So we would fetch the URL from the uh, API as the response. So for that, return res.json dot then JSON will be promise dot reject JSON here. Here next will be dot then. We'll get this session, and after that we'll receive window dot location. This will redirect it to the Stripe URL. It will be session dot URL. Okay. Next, if there is any error, then we'll catch using the catch block. We can catch the error. will be console.log e dot error. Okay. Our checkout function has been done. So with this, our home.js code is done for now. We'll now move on to the backend to build this API, and we need to fetch the URL from the Stripe to get the Stripe window. So for the backend, first in the terminal, I have to cd to backend, and here you can see there is no file for backend. Here I'm going to write npm init-y. You can see here our package.json is now present. So I'm going to do some changes here. That is, our main file will be server.js, and our script tags will be, I'm going to remove this test, and our script tag will be on start. It should run the command, that is node server.js. This command is needed whenever you will go for the production build or whenever you will deploy. That time it's needed. And for development, I want to run this command, that is nodemon server.js. Okay. This two command will be our script tag, and this much is done here. Now in this npm, I want to install some dependencies. So I'll write npm install. First we'll give body parser, then we'll write source, then dot env. Yes, you can view it, whatever I'm writing. Dot env, then express, then we'll have Firebase admin, because we're going to store our subscription data to Firebase. So we need Firebase admin, moment, trace, the moment, then we'll need nodemon, and then Stripe for the payment. So we'll click on enter, and this will install all our packages. You can see our package.json and node modules have been installed. So if I make it down here, you can see these are the dependencies and their versions. You can check when you will install it. Next, we'll write our server.js. So server.js file. Here at first, I will import all the dependencies that I'll require. So first, require dot env dot config. Okay. Next, I'm going to require forms admin. It's going to require Firebase admin. Next, we'll require const express. It's going to require express Next, it will be const app equal to express, then const cors require cors, then const body parser require body parser, then we'll have const moment, and then we'll write take the port here is equal to 5000. You can define this in .env file also. Then I'll take app.use as express.json, pass it, and also have app.use body parser .json. Okay, so this much is done. Also, we'll have for the course, that is app.use. We'll have your course, and we'll allow the origin to be our HTTP localhost 5173. Whenever you will have a deployed URL, then you will change this origin with the deployed URL of the front end. So our app.use portion is done. Next, we'll have app.listen port, the callback function. Then you can say console.log now listening on port for the port value. Our initial setup of server.js is done. Now let us run here npm run dev. Yes, here I write npm run dev. You can see now listening on port 5000. So our backend is running successfully, and now we have to create some configuration for Stripe and also for Firebase. So first I want to have here an file for the Firebase config. It will be service account e.json. Service account e.json. So first we'll go to Firebase. Here is the Firebase for the app we have created where we have done our authentication. We'll go to the project settings and then to our service account. Okay. So we'll copy this for, you can see for Node.js, we'll copy this one And here we have already defined this, and we'll copy this portion and we'll paste it in our server.js. And see, our initializing first is done. Here we'll call our service account also, response service account also require service account.json. Then our service account will be fine. Now here for this one, we have to generate its new private key. On clicking, it will get downloaded here. Here, this is the account key. Now I'm going to copy it and paste it on our service account key.json on our file. I'm going to remove this file, and here I will save it, and also in server.js I'll save it, and hence our Firebase portion is done. The service account key is also done, and the initialize app for admin has been completed. Next we'll go to the, this one is done, so not needed right now. We'll go to our Stripe, and we will have this page. After you get logged into it, we'll go to our developer section. We'll go to API keys. You can see here this, there is a publishable key and there is a secret key. We will need this secret key for our .env file. So we'll go and create a .env file, and we'll place here private key, and it will have your secret. Okay, so this one I'm going to get copied, or you can reveal this test key and click the exact one and place it here. In the same way, remove this your secret key and you just paste it here without any gap or any quotes mark, then it will work perfectly fine. So I'll put it first. I'll go to the products. Okay, now in the products, first I'll add a product here. I'll name the product as basic, and with a standard pricing, I want it to be priced as rupees 99. I'm in INR right now. This model will be the recurring model and the billing period will be monthly. You can choose from the options as your requirement, but for me this one will be monthly for now. So I'll save the product. After saving, you can see for the basic product, you will get an API ID here. This ID we are going to need for in our backend code. So I'll copy this, and in server.js, I'm going to write here const with an arrow here. First I'll give basic, and then I'll write paste the its API ID. Okay, the product ID. Next, you can see I have a basic product right now. Then I'll add product. and write here pro. Remaining is standard price. I'll give here 499. Will be recurring, and we'll save the product. We'll copy the ID and we'll paste it here. We'll write here pro and also okay, this one is also done. Next, we'll add another, that is the business. That will be 999 recurring monthly, and save the product. And we'll copy the ID here and also paste here. So our according to the product name, the API ID is saved here. We'll click save. So our product builds are ready in the Stripe. I'll now copy the secret key and we'll paste, and then we'll go forward with the code. We'll start with the Stripe configuration. That is, first I'll call the Stripe here, the const Stripe, then require exactly what variable we have written as in the .env file. We'll call that here. So after describing Stripe, we will now create the subscription API. Now, as you can remember, in that home.jsx, we have already defined the API. So we will copy that. This will be our API portion. So we will write here app.post will be paste here. It will be /API/v1/create subscription checkout session. You can give your type of name, as I have defined that name in my front end. So I'm using the same URL, and I'll give a async function, callback function. We'll have request and response, and then now we are sending, if you remember, we are sending the plan, that is the amount that the user have chosen, and the user ID of Firebase. So we'll call it here response. We'll destructure it. It will be plan and customer ID. Will be received from our request.body. Okay. Now I'm taking a variable here, let plan ID equal to null. Now we have to check that whether the selected user plan is equal or matching to our plan ID that we have created in the Stripe. So the checkings will be here done. It is if plan is equal to 29, then plan ID will be is equal to basic. Okay, this basic is coming from, see, we have described it with our API, that is price APIs. So if we get a 99, then we can assign it to the basic constant. Next, else if plan is equal to 499, then plan ID is equal to pro. And else if plan is equal to 999, then plan ID is equal to business. So if there is any manipulation in the front end where the request amount or the plan amount gets changed, then it will not work in the backend. So this way you can put a check here. Also you can put other checks as you require. Now here I'll give a try catch block. So for this try block, let me write the catch first. For the catch will have an error here, and we'll press dot send the error, whatever, if we find an error. Okay, catch block is done. Now for the try block, it will be like const session will be equal to await type session, and will pass the plan ID. Now this type session, I'll create the function here. This is our customized function. So I'll create here const type session is equal to is async, and will be accepting the plan here, and then we'll give it a callback function, and this will be a fat arrow function actually. So we'll write try, and we are taking our try catch block. We'll write here const session will be equal to await stripe dot checkout dot sessions dot create. Now this is a stripe function. So stripe dot checkout dot sessions dot create. Here the mode will be subscription, and the payment method will be only card. I'm accepting here only card, and then in the line items we can have, we will be passing the object, that is price will be the plan, and then the quantity will be 1. After this, when the, if the checkout is successful or it gets cancelled, it needs to redirect to a URL. So here I'm going to write success URL is http localhost 5173. That is this one, our front end URL. If you are doing a production, if you have a production URL, then you will change it or replace it with that, and then it will be success. Okay. And for the next, it will be cancel URL. These are the fields of Stripe. So you have to cover these fields. Paste it here and then write here cancel. So this one is done. Then we'll return our session here, and we'll also have a catch block here. But if you find any error here, then it will return the error. Okay. So our Stripe session is done. So this will, if it's a success, then it will redirect to the success URL. If it's have any problem, then it will redirect to the cancel URL. And if you find any error, we'll get it in the catch block. So our Stripe subscription main function is completed. Next, I want to whatever session ID we will be getting, I want to pass that session ID to my Firebase for storing the subscription plan. Okay. So here I'll write const user is equal to await admin dot admin. We are taking from the, you can see, Firebase admin dot auth dot get user, and we'll pass the customer ID there. Okay. Now we need to, if anyone has a question that why we are storing the session ID to Firebase, because whatever URL we will be getting in the session will only get the Stripe URL, that is before the payment. So after the payment, whether what is the subscription plan or subscription ID or its details, that we can fetch in a different URL. So for that, we need to pass the subscription ID or the session ID in the Firebase so that we can check whether the subscription is a success or not. So here after get user, we'll write await admin dot database dot ref users dot child. Will pass the user dot UID, and then we'll update the object, user object, with subscription session ID will be have session dot ID. Okay. Now this portion is done, and finally we'll return res dot listen. We will be passing here session. Now before that, I want to do a console.log here so that you all can understand exactly what I'm talking about. So this portion is done. I'm going to save it. Server has restarted, and I will be going to the our front end here, and I'm already logged in. So I'm going to choose the pro plan first, or I can choose the basic also. Let's start with the basic. If I click start here, it should get redirected to the Stripe dashboard. Yes, you can see subscribe to basic, rupees 99 per month. So this is the Stripe dashboard. Now if I go to the our backend, you can see here the API details. Okay, you can see this is our ID checkout session. This is our amount. It is in in paise. It is defined unit amount. So here it is that. But here you will not get any subscription details. As you can see, subscription is null still now because we haven't done any payment. We are just getting, or you can say fetching, this URL of the Stripe account in our front end. That is here, where we are redirecting it directly to the Stripe URL. So after the session, this payment is successful, we still need to call an API to store the subscription details in our Firebase. So for that's why we are storing the session ID in our Firebase. So if I go and check here, inside users, inside the ID, you can see here a new field has been created, that is subscription. And in subscription, this session ID has been stored so that we can use this session ID for storing our subscription details. So let's move on, and our this API is completed. We will now go to our front end success page, that if a page is successful, then I need to make a call to another API where it will store the subscription details into our Firebase. So let's start with the code of success page. So I have completed the design of the cancel page and the success page. So this is the success page and this will be the cancel page. So let's now move to the success page and to the API call. So first, before calling the API, I want to get the session ID of the user or Stripe from Firebase. So first I'll write here some states, that is const user ID, set user ID is equal to use state next. It will be const session ID and set session ID. Again, use state. Initialize with empty string. Okay. Next, I'll call the use effect hook. And here, I'll take the dependencies as the user ID and the session ID. Now, inside the use effect, first I'll import the Firebase here. That is import Firebase from our Firebase folder. Here, inside use effect, I'll call Firebase dot auth dot on sorry, auth dot on auth state changed. Then we'll give here a callback function where if user, then set user ID. And set user ID will pass user dot UID. Okay. And then const user ref is equal to Firebase dot database dot ref is users slash plus user dot UID. Then user ref dot on value will have a snapshot here. That is when I'm going to fetch any of the object details. So I'm going to use here a snapshot where is equal to snapshot dot val, and then if user val, then set session ID, that is user dot subscription dot session ID, or it will be empty. It is, if user value is present, then in set session ID, it will store the subscription session ID, or it will be empty. Okay. So our use effect portion is completed. Next, I'm going to put an on-click function in the button here, where it will pass a handle payment function, and payment success. Okay. Now here we'll define that function, const and payment success. Here we'll fetch the API that will create, that is HTTP localhost 5000 slash API slash v1 slash payment success. After the deployment, you should remove this localhost API to your deployed URL. Okay. And the method will be post, and then the headers will have content type as application slash JSON. And for the body, it will have JSON dot stringify, will pass the session ID and also the Firebase ID. Okay. This is the session ID, our state, and user ID is our state also. We are passing this to in this API. Now after this, we'll have a dot then. Now the response that we'll get will check if res.ok, then return res.json, else return res.json dot then JSON will equal to promise dot reject, pass the JSON inside the reject function. Okay. Now we'll put another then, that is, if we get the data here, then I want to console.log data dot message. Okay, and um, want to directly redirect to our home page. So here navigate to our, not this one, navigate to our home page. First we have to describe here on here what is navigate. So const navigate is equal to use navigate. It should not showing any suggestion that use navigate is from React router DOM. So import use navigate from React router DOM. So the success page is almost done. Okay, I just missed out the catch block here. That is dot catch. We'll have here key, and if we have any error, then we'll console.log it. Okay, so e dot error. So it's done. The success page is done. Next, we will be creating the successful subscription API. We'll write here app.post, and the API will be whatever we have written in success page. That is this one slash API v1 payment success. Here we'll paste that one. Done. Then we'll call an async function here with a request and response, and writing the try catch block. So in try block, we'll first have, let me first write the catch block here. In the catch block, we will be having if there is any error, then we'll res.send the error. And now inside the try block, we'll have const session is equal to await stripe dot checkout dot sessions dot retrieve then session ID Now, after calling this session, we can pass that if session dot payment status if session.payment status is equal to paid, then const subscription ID will be equal to session.subscription. Now here we'll have another try block. Here we will be calling the subscription ID. Okay, so const subscription will be equal to await stripe dot subscriptions dot retrieve subscription ID. Now this process is that first we are calling the session with the help of the session ID that we are getting from the we are passing from the front end from the Firebase. So first we are getting the session ID, then we are checking if the payment status of the session is paid, then we will be getting the subscription object. Now from that subscription ID, we can retrieve the total subscription object, but the details of the subscription object. So const subscription is assigned for that value. Okay. Then I want to do the update in the Firebase user object. So const user equal to await admin dot user, no, not user, rather admin dot auth dot get user. We will be passing the Firebase ID. I just missed out the request dot body. So this one will be const session ID and also the Firebase ID we will be getting from request dot body. Okay. So this session ID is passed here and the Firebase ID will be passed here. Yeah. This is the Firebase ID. Now for different fields, I'm going to store it in a variable, that is plan ID will be equal to subscription dot plan dot ID. Now next will be the plan type. So const will first initialize a plan type here with an empty string. Okay. Now if subscription dot plan dot amount is equal to 99, that is 9900 in the unit amount, then plan type will be basic. Okay. Else if, let's copy this part, and put it here. And if it is 499, then it will be pro, and here else if it will be 999, then it will be business. Okay, so the plan type is now done, and then we'll have the start date and end date. Okay, so next is const start date will be equal to moment dot unix will be subscription dot current period start dot format. I wanted to show it in the format of in the year, month, and date. Next will be the end date, where the main field will be current period end. Rest will be the same. And I want to know the time span. So duration in seconds. Now, first I got the date in seconds. That is the by doing the subtraction of subscription dot current period end minus subscription dot current period start, and then I'm converting the seconds to the days format using moment. The duration in seconds, and pass here is seconds, and then convert it to as days. Okay, so we'll get the number of days that will be limiting. Next, I'll call the Firebase database to store the subscription object. So I'll write here await admin dot database dot ref, calling the users, and dot child, calling the user dot uid, and then update. Okay. In the subscription field, first I'm going to change the session ID to null, because after calling this database, we will not need the session ID, so it will be null. Then plan ID, we'll pass this plan ID here. Then plan type, we'll pass the plan type. Then we'll pass the plan start date, and it will be start date. Then plan end date, it will be end date. Next is plan duration, it will be duration in days. Okay, this will be our actual subscription object for individual user. Then after this one, we'll write catch error, then console.log, or you can say console.error will be error retrieving subscription, and will pass the error object. Okay. Next, we'll return here, we'll return response.json, message will be payment successful. Remember, in success.js, we are receiving this data and we are doing console.log. Now, this message I'm sending from the server. If you want, you can put some type of notification here, which will be more user friendly. But I'm just here, I'm just showing it in the console. So here I'll passing payment successful, else will return payment failed. Okay. Now our payment success API is almost done. You can check that we are first receiving session ID and Firebase ID. According to that, we are calling the session. We are checking if the payment station is paid, payment status is paid. Then we will have the subscription ID. Again, we are retrieving the Stripe subscription based on the subscription ID. Then we are getting the subscription plan details and we are storing it here in different constants. And then we are creating the object of subscription for individual user and storing it in the Firebase account. And according to that, we are sending the success message. So our backend is almost completed. We are done with our backend, so I'll save it. And now I have one thing left, that is in the home page. So after completing this code here, we'll do the final payment checkup, whether our backend and front end is working fine or not. Now here in the home page, you can see here that if I am subscribed, I want to see a change in the design. That is a way to know that that my account is already subscribed to a plan here. So for that, I want to do some changes in the home page here. let's go to the home page, and inside the use effect, I want to call the, yes, within if user is present, then I want to fetch a field of Firebase, that is const user ref is equal to Firebase dot database, then dot ref, we calling the users slash, then the user ID, then we'll to call the value, we need to snapshot it. So user ref dot on, then value, then we'll have a snapshot, then we'll have const user value is equal to snapshot dot val, if user val, then set, okay, I have to here define one more use state, so that is const plan type set plan type equal to use state, okay, initialize the value here in set plan type, I'll store and pass user dot subscription dot plan type, or it will be empty, okay? User dot subscription dot plan type. Yes. So I have retrieved our data in this plan type inside the use effect. If we have, after payment, if we have a plan type here, then we'll store this in the set, in the plan type we'll store, else it will be empty. Next, I want to change some CSS here, that is here in the index. So first I'll remove this double quotes and we'll give backticks here. Okay, I've given the backticks. So after giving the backticks, I want to add a condition, that is if I have if I have a plan type which is equal to if item dot title dot to lowercase, then I'm going to have an extra style of border. It will be 16 pixel and the border will be green dash 400. You can check here that if I get a plan type, here our item dot title is this one, basic. So we are converting it to lowercase first. And if our plan type matches with the title type, then for that individual item, I want to have a border and its border color. Okay. And also I want to do a change in the button here, that is start. So I want to put a condition here, a condition rendering, that is if plan type is equal to item dot title dot to lowercase, this one to lowercase, then we'll have a button. Let me copy this one. We'll have a button here where this on click function is not needed. Okay, the button will state that we are subscribed. Okay, we are subscribed, and we will be having here BG, we'll change it to green 600, and text will be round, text space, upper, all is same. And else, if we don't show this, then else will have this button, that is our start button here. Okay. So you can see if plan type is what we see, the if plan type matches with the item dot title, then we'll show the subscribe button, else it will be as normal to the start button. So now I have changed the code. Now let's go to our web page. Here you can see no changes are still now. We are normally having all the start buttons. So I'll do select a pro plan. Let's select the pro plan. So I'll click start here. I'm already logged in. So on clicking start, it's now redirected to the Stripe payment. Here I'll give the email Annie solve it out at gmail.com. Here for the test card, we'll use photos. Okay, some future year and month. From CVC, name on the card, Annie, country India. Now we'll do the subscribe. Okay, on clicking the subscribe, now we should get redirected to our payment success page. Yes, this is our successful payment. Now we can proceed. You can see we are now subscribed to this pro plan. Already you can see the change in the design. Now if I go to my Firebase, you can see here in the subscription our plan duration are all stored. You can see just for a second the session ID was present and it got removed as we have changed it to null. So after subscription we will not have the session ID. We'll have the plan duration, plan end date, and price, that is our API, plan start date, and the plan type, that is pro. So in the Firebase we are storing the subscription object in our means individual user object. And in Stripe, now I'll go and we'll do a refresh here. In the payment, you can see here, this is the last payment that we have made. This is $4.99 subscription creation by my Gmail account. And at the time, this all are the previous payments that I've been testing. So Stripe is also work fine, and our Firebase also. So this is the end of the project, and you have learned how to create the Stripe subscription plans for an individual authenticated user. So, and how to fetch the data, how to do the backend. So if you have any doubt, do comment down below. You can also have, you know, put some extra checks here. You can also customize it in your own way. And if you feel that my code needs some optimization, you can share that details also. So this is Annie signing off today. Let's meet in another new project.